I thought I was just there to mop floors and refill food trays. That was the job they gave volunteers like me, quiet work in the background of a place no one talked about. The Kinsley Research Center didn't show up on maps. No sign outside. Just a wire gate, miles of rainforest, and walls so thick you forgot the sun was out. The glass room was where they kept Coco. They told me she was a silverback, rescued from poachers, trained in sign language. But what they didn't tell me was how human she felt when she looked at you. The first time I walked past her enclosure, I kept my head down. I had read the rulebook. Do not make direct eye contact. Do not speak unless spoken to by staff. Do not engage. But she was staring at me. And I mean staring. Not curious. Not aggressive. Just looking like she was waiting for something. Don't stare back, I whispered to myself, pushing the mop forward. She stood up, quietly. No pounding, no drama. And then her giant hand lifted. She signed. At first, I didn't understand. It had been years since I studied sign language. I squinted through the glass. Her hands moved slowly, thoughtfully. I blinked, unsure. Did she just say, sad? She signed again. This time clearer. You. Sad. I froze. Not because she got the sign right, but because it was true. And I hadn't said a word. I looked around. No cameras pointing in my direction. No one watching. She tilted her head. You can see that? I whispered, feeling something twist in my chest. She nodded. Yeah, well, I guess I am, I said. But how do you know? She signed again. Eyes. Like mine. And just like that, the floor felt shaky under me. Coco stepped back, sat down, and picked at a blanket in her lap like the conversation never happened. But I couldn't move. I just stood there, gripping the mop. When I told one of the handlers, they laughed. She signs all kinds of things, they said. You probably imagined it. But I didn't. I went back the next day. I wasn't supposed to. That wing wasn't on my shift. But I needed to see her again. She was sitting in the same spot. When she saw me, she lifted her hands. You come back. Good. That's when something changed in me. I didn't just see an animal behind glass. I saw someone trying to speak. Someone who had been waiting a long time for someone to listen. Hi, Coco, I said gently. She touched her chest. Me. Coco. I'm Mason. She signed again. Mason. Sad. I let out a soft laugh. Still on that, huh? She nodded once, serious. It became a routine. I'd sneak in 5 minutes early, just to sit near her glass. She'd sign words. Simple ones. Banana. Sleep. No loud. Scared. Sometimes I understood. Sometimes I didn't. But I started writing them down. She watched me closely every time. Like she was studying me too. On day 5, she touched the glass and signed. You. Safe. I didn't know what to say. Thanks, I whispered. Then she added. Others. Not. My breath caught. What do you mean? She didn't answer. Just looked away and curled into herself. That night, I couldn't sleep. What did she mean? Others not safe? Was she warning me? Or remembering something? I came back the next morning with a notepad. Okay, Coco, I said, crouching near the glass. If you want to talk, I'm here. I'll listen. She stared at the pad in my hand. Slowly, she signed. Write truth, not lie. And for some reason, that made my hands tremble. I promise, I said. No lies. We sat there in silence after that. But it wasn't empty. It was full of something I couldn't name yet. The other staff didn't notice. Or maybe they just didn't care. She likes to mimic feelings, Dr. Elliot told me later. Don't get too close. It's all learned behavior. But I didn't believe that. Not anymore. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror and asked, Why do I feel so sad? Coco saw it before I did. She looked into my eyes and found something buried I hadn't faced in years. And the strange part? I think she understood. I kept hearing her voice in my head, even though she never spoke a word. You sad. That moment stayed with me all night. I had never felt seen like that before, not by a person, and definitely not by a gorilla behind glass. So the next morning, I showed up early again. Coco was already awake, sitting in the same spot with her hands resting on her lap. She saw me and tapped the glass twice. "Good morning," I whispered, smiling. She signed slowly. "Sad dream." Loud noise. I blinked. "Did you have a nightmare?" She nodded once and tucked her chin into her shoulder like a child hiding from a shadow. I pulled out my notebook and wrote it down. I didn't say anything yet. I just let her move at her own pace. Later, during lunch, I asked Lila, one of the older handlers, does Coco ever sign dreams? Lila looked surprised. No, she barely signs at all. Only with food or when she wants her blanket. I frowned. She signed sad dream this morning. She shook her head. Then she really likes you. Coco doesn't open up to people, especially not fast. But it wasn't fast. It felt like she had been waiting, like the words were already inside her, just looking for someone who would listen. The next time I saw her, I tried something different. "Coco," I asked, "what did you dream about?" She stared at me, unmoving, then signed. "Dark. Fire. No baby." My stomach tightened. "What fire?" She didn't answer. She looked down and signed again. "Bad. Scary. Hide." It was more than just a dream. I could feel it. These weren't just made-up thoughts. These were memories. That night, I brought it up to Dr. Elliot. "Has Coco ever been near a fire?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow. "What kind of question is that?" She told me. "In a sign. Fire. No baby." Dr. Elliot put down her tablet. "Mason, this isn't a fantasy camp. Gorillas mimic signs. It doesn't mean they understand them." "She understands," I said softly. "You weren't there." Dr. Elliot's voice got sharper. "Keep your role in mind. You're a volunteer, not a trainer. Stick to cleaning duties." But I couldn't forget what Coco signed. I couldn't ignore the way her hands trembled when she remembered. The next evening, the hallway was quiet. Most of the staff had gone home. I sat near the glass again, notebook in hand. Coco moved slowly to the front. She tapped twice, like always. "Hey," I said gently, "do you want to talk?" She nodded. Her hands moved with focus this time. "Man hurt. Me." I froze. "What do you mean, Coco?" "What man?" She pressed her palm to the glass. "White coat. Yell. Take baby. Bad." I swallowed hard. "You mean someone here?" "Someone took your baby." She nodded again. "Baby cry. Then gone." I felt sick. All this time, I had thought she was just lonely. But she was grieving. She had been grieving while we were treating her like a science exhibit. She signed again. "Me cry. No one see." "I see you," I whispered. "I see you now." Coco closed her eyes. For a long time, she just sat there, arms wrapped around herself, like she was holding something only she could feel. Then she added one more sign. Not dream, memory. And I believed her. I didn't sleep that night. Her signs kept repeating in my head like echoes down a long, dark tunnel. Man hurt. Me. Baby. Gone. At breakfast, I looked at the other staff differently. Every white lab coat looked colder. Every silence felt heavier. I tried to ask more questions. No one wanted to talk. But Coco kept signing. Little things. No loud. Bad noise. Lock. Scared. Each day, her words painted a picture no one else could see. But I saw it. I felt it. And I wrote every word down. And somewhere deep inside me, I started to wonder, what if the people who rescued her were the same ones who broke her? I couldn't keep the words out of my head. Man hurt me. Baby gone. Coco's hands had said them with so much pain, it didn't feel like she was guessing or mimicking. It felt like remembering. So I started writing everything down. I tore pages out of an old notebook and began a journal. Each entry had the date, the time, what she signed, and how she looked when she signed it. I even recorded the way her breathing changed. It felt like the only way I could hold her truth in a place no one else would erase. Day after day, Coco gave me more. Cage dark, fire noise, blood, hurt, no food, cry. I asked her if she meant a dream. She shook her head every time. This happened. I whispered once. She signed. Yes, real, not lie. I asked Dr. Elliot again during lunch. Have you ever looked at Coco's early records? I said carefully. Did anything happen when she was first brought here? Dr. Elliot didn't even blink. We have everything documented. Why are you asking? She keeps signing things that sound like trauma. Dr. Elliot let out a breath. Mason, you're reading too much into it. Gorillas can repeat what they see, but it doesn't mean they understand. She's not just repeating. She says it's real. That's your interpretation. Don't confuse emotion with science. Her words stung. Then why does it feel like she's crying through her hands? She's not, she said flatly. She's calm. She's fed. She's fine. I walked away, feeling like I was carrying something too big for one person. But Coco wasn't fine. That afternoon, she signed something new. Hot. Run. Scream. No help. What happened, Coco? I asked. She touched her chest. Me. Baby? Hide. Bad men take. Where did he take your baby? She lowered her head and signed. Gone. I cry. I wanted to reach through the glass and hug her, but all I could do was sit there, helpless, as she folded into herself. That night, I opened my journal and stared at the page. Coco's signs. Day 7. Cage dark. Fire noise. Baby gone. I circled those 3. Something wasn't right, and it went deeper than I had thought. I flipped back through the pages. Every memory she signed pointed to something bigger. This wasn't just a bad rescue. This was a secret, a buried story. The next day, I tried asking Lila, "Do you know where Coco's baby went?" I said, lowering my voice. Lila paused. She never had a baby here. She signed that someone took her baby. A man in a white coat. Lila frowned. Look, when she arrived, she was badly injured. No one said anything about a baby. But what if no one asked her? Lila didn't respond. She just walked away. Later that evening, I found Coco resting in her corner. I crouched near the glass and showed her the journal. Do you remember this? I asked, pointing to the words. She nodded slowly. Why didn't anyone listen before? She signed. No listen. No care. Lie. I stared at her, then whispered, I care. She reached up and pressed her hand flat to the glass. You truth. That single sign made my chest hurt. I went back to my room and stared at my notes for hours. Every sentence Coco had shared wasn't just memory. It was her way of screaming through silence. And I was the only one writing it down. The journal was filling up fast. Each day, Coco gave me more. She wasn't just signing, she was confessing. And I felt like I was the only one listening. That morning, she sat close to the glass before I even said a word. Her hand tapped softly twice, like always. Then she pointed behind her. Taped to the back wall was a photo I had never noticed before. It was old and slightly curled. A baby gorilla, barely a few months old, staring up with wide eyes. The baby looked scared. Alone. Coco pointed to herself, then to the photo. "Is that your baby?" I asked. She signed slowly. "Me mom." "No baby." I swallowed hard. "Where's the baby now?" She touched the glass. "Gone. Taken." The pain in her eyes hit like a punch. This wasn't just sadness. It was grief, deep and old and raw. "Who took your baby?" Her hands moved slower than usual. Loud men. Bang stick. Cage. Fire. I sat down on the floor. I didn't care if someone saw me. "You were with your baby when they came?" She nodded once. My throat tightened. "I'm so sorry, Coco." She signed again. I hide. Baby cry. No help. She had buried this for so long. And now, piece by piece, it was rising. I stared at the photo. Why is this even here? I asked out loud. Why would they let her keep this, but never speak about it? Later, during a break, I cornered one of the junior staff, a quiet guy named Ben. I showed him a sketch I made of the photo. "Ever seen this?" I asked. He looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, it's been there since she arrived. No one ever takes it down." "Who's the baby?" Ben shook his head. "Some say it was hers, but no one confirmed it. It's not on record." "Then why is she signing that it was?" Ben lowered his voice. "There were rumors. Before she came here, she was part of an illegal pet trade seizure. Poachers had her. Maybe the baby was taken then." I stared at him. "You don't think that matters?" He looked away. "I'm not paid to ask." That night, I opened my journal again. "Me mom." "No baby." I circled it twice. The next morning, I brought a printout of a baby gorilla from a wildlife report. I slipped it under the glass. Coco picked it up carefully. She didn't tear it, didn't throw it. She just stared at it. Then she signed. "Not mine. My baby small. Hurt leg." That one detail, hurt leg, was something no one could guess. I leaned forward. "Did they hurt your baby?" Her hands shook slightly. "Yes." "Baby cry." I screamed. I pressed my hand to the glass. "I believe you." She looked right at me and signed. No one did. Before. That broke me. Coco had been carrying this pain in silence, in a cage, with a photo and no voice. And when she finally spoke, no one cared. But I did. I went into the center's archives that night alone. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I had to know. After 2 hours of digging, I found an old folder marked with a red sticker and half-erased handwriting. Inside were reports from Coco's intake. It confirmed what Ben hinted at. She had been seized from a private collector. The collector had ties to black market wildlife trade. No mention of a baby in the records. Just one note. Subject appears agitated when separated from smaller cage. Smaller cage. That's all they called it. That smaller cage had likely been the baby's. I slammed the file shut. Coco hadn't been rescued. She had been moved from one cage to another, from one kind of silence to another. The next day, I sat beside her again. "I found your intake report," I said quietly. "They didn't mention your baby, just said you were agitated." She signed. I break cage. Try save. Too late. I blinked away tears. "You fought for your baby?" "Yes." I bite man. "They hit me." She had scars. I had seen them, but I never knew what they meant. Until now. And then she signed one more thing. They call rescue, but they lie. And for the first time, I didn't just feel sad. I felt angry. All this time, we praised ourselves for saving her, but no one had ever asked what she needed saving from. She told us, again and again, but no one wrote it down. Until now. Coco's last words wouldn't leave me. They call rescue, but they lie. She had trusted me enough to share that. And I couldn't stop thinking, what else were they hiding? That night, after lights out, I stayed behind. I waited until the last car pulled out of the center's gravel road. Then I made my way to the admin wing. There was a door at the far end, gray, metal, always locked. I had seen Dr. Elliot go in once. I took a deep breath, pulled out the small ring of keys I'd copied from the break room, and slid one into the lock. It clicked. Inside was a dusty storage room. Shelves full of binders, folders, plastic boxes. But one cabinet in the back had a yellow sticker. Confidential, K-12 Archive. I opened it. Inside were old videotapes, the kind used before flash drives. Each one had labels like K-12 Interaction, Cage Response 3B, Do Not View. I grabbed 3 tapes, stuffed them into my hoodie, and locked the door behind me. My hands were shaking. I had no idea what I was about to find. Back in the volunteer quarters, I set up an old monitor I had seen in storage. It still had a tape deck. I slid in the first one. The screen flickered to life. Black and white footage. No sound. There she was. Coco, in a small metal cage, younger, thinner. Her arms were chained at the wrists, not tight, but enough to stop her from moving freely. A man in a lab coat stood nearby with a clipboard. He tossed a banana just outside the cage. Coco reached for it, but the chain yanked her back. She screamed. Silent, but I could feel it through the screen. The man wrote something down. I watched as he walked closer and poked a long stick through the bars. Coco flinched, pushed herself into the corner, and began rocking back and forth. I hit pause. My chest was pounding. This wasn't research. This was punishment. Control. Fear. I grabbed the second tape. This one was labeled Language Conditioning Test 4A. At first, it looked simple. A trainer stood behind glass, signing basic words. Coco copied them. But then, the trainer slapped the glass hard when she got one wrong. Again and again. Coco signed stop 3 times. Then hurt. Then she backed into the wall, curled up, and didn't move. The trainer left the room. And the tape kept rolling for another 10 minutes. Coco didn't move once. I felt sick. I played the third tape. This one hit the hardest. It was short, maybe 5 minutes. Coco sat in her cage, completely still. On the floor beside her was a small stuffed toy, a baby gorilla. She picked it up, rocked it, signed, "Baby, mine, gone." Then she placed it down and turned away. The screen went black. I sat there in silence. So this was what they didn't want anyone to see. This was what Dr. Elliot called mimicking. They didn't save her. They broke her and taught her how to look safe for the world outside. The next morning, I walked into the staff lounge and saw Dr. Elliot sipping her coffee. I asked, "Did Coco ever go through isolation training?" She didn't flinch. "That's not your concern." She was chained, prodded, forced to sign under fear. Dr. Elliot's smile faded. "Where did you get that idea?" "I saw the tapes," I said quietly. She stood slowly. Those tapes were never meant to be viewed. They're from early conditioning trials, decades ago. The methods were different back then. "She remembers," I said. "Every second. And she's still in pain." Dr. Elliot crossed her arms. "Mason, I suggest you stop digging into things that are above your pay grade." "She's not data," I snapped. "She's a living being who lost everything. And you kept her in a glass room and called it mercy." Her voice dropped. "If you want to stay here, follow the rules. No more questions." I walked out. I didn't care about staying. I cared about the truth. That night, I returned to Coco's glass room. She tapped the glass twice, waiting. "I saw the tapes," I whispered. Her eyes locked with mine. I know what they did to you, I said. And I'm so sorry. She signed slowly. You see. Now you know. I nodded. I won't let them hide it anymore. She placed her hand to the glass. Then she signed one word. Truth. And for the first time, I realized something. She wasn't just asking to be heard. She was asking me to tell her story. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Not after what I saw on those tapes. Not after Coco signed truth with her trembling hands. They kept saying she was fine. Safe. Managed. But I knew the truth now. And I wasn't going to stay quiet. The staff meeting was held every Friday morning in the small conference room near the lab wing. I showed up early and sat near the end of the table, my journal tucked in my bag. Most people talked casually, sipping coffee. Lila gave me a quick nod, but no one else looked up. Dr. Elliot walked in last, like always. Let's begin, she said, flipping open her clipboard. First, funding updates. I raised my hand. Before we start, I need to say something. Everyone turned. Dr. Elliot gave me a tight smile. Mason, this isn't the time. It is, I said firmly. It's about Coco. She blinked. If this is another emotional claim, I saw the tapes, I interrupted. The ones marked do not view. The isolation. The screaming. The stuffed toy she rocked like a real baby. A silence dropped over the room. I stood. Why are we hiding what was done to her? Why won't anyone talk about it? Dr. Elliot's voice turned sharp. That animal is dangerous. You don't understand what she's capable of. She's not dangerous, I said. She's grieving. Dr. Elliot stepped forward. You think she's just a victim? You weren't there when she arrived. She bit 2 handlers. She tore the hinges off her first enclosure. We had no choice. Lila whispered, that was years ago. I looked around the table. She wasn't violent. She was trying to protect her baby. You locked her up and called it research. She is a gorilla, Mason, Dr. Elliot snapped. Not a person. She understands more than any of us give her credit for, I replied. She remembers everything. And she's still trying to speak. Someone else at the table, Ben, spoke up. Is it true she came from a poacher case? Dr. Elliot sighed. Yes, but details were unclear. The goal was rehabilitation. Then why do the tapes show punishment? I asked. Why does she sign fire, cry, and man hurt me over and over again? Dr. Elliot stared at me. Because she is manipulating you. I stepped closer. Or maybe you're afraid. Afraid that if the truth gets out, people will realize she wasn't rescued. She was broken. And we kept her in a cage and called it kindness. Lila stood beside me. I've worked here 8 years. I've never seen her sign like this for anyone. She's not lying. And neither is he. Ben added, if she's speaking, maybe we should listen. Dr. Elliot's face hardened. This is a research facility, not a therapy circle. I pulled my journal from my bag and placed it on the table. Read it, I said. Every word she's signed. Every memory she's shared. This is not science fiction. It's her truth. No one moved. I'm not trying to bring down the center, I continued. I'm trying to bring back her voice. Dr. Elliot looked at the journal, then at me. Be very careful, Mason, she said. You're walking a line that could cost you. I didn't blink. Then I'll walk it. I left the room without another word. Later that afternoon, I returned to Coco's glass room. She was waiting, still. I told them, I said softly. She tapped the glass. You speak. I had to. She signed. They believe? Some do. Some don't. But I won't stop. She pressed her palm against the glass. Thank you. And in that moment, I didn't care what it would cost. Because Coco finally had someone who would fight for her. The morning after the staff meeting, I walked through the center feeling like the walls had grown eyes. No one said a word, but I could feel tension hanging in the air like smoke. Coco sat near the glass as I approached. Her shoulders were tight, eyes sharper than usual. I sat on the floor, legs crossed, notebook in my lap. She didn't sign at first. I waited. Finally, she lifted her hands slowly. Humans lie. Hurt heart. Hide truth. My throat went dry. What did you say? I asked gently. She repeated it again, one sign at a time. Humans lie. Hurt heart. Hide truth. I turned on my phone and started recording. Coco, say it one more time. Her hands moved even slower this time, like she wanted every word to land. Humans lie. Hurt heart. Hide truth. I nodded. Why are you saying that? She pointed to herself. They say help. They lie. My fingers tightened around the phone. You're talking about the center? She nodded once. They take baby. Say safe. Not safe. I could barely breathe. Everything she'd been saying about the fire, the screaming, the cage, it was all leading to this. She didn't just remember. She understood. And now she was calling it what it was, a lie. I stopped the recording and watched it back. Her signs were clear. Her face showed no confusion. Just truth. Heavy, painful truth. I sent the video to my laptop and sat frozen in my bunk, listening to the silence outside. The staff might have ignored the journal, but they couldn't ignore this. I opened a private browser, created a fake email, and uploaded the clip to a site that protected whistleblowers. No name, no tags, just a title. The gorilla who said humans lie. Then I hit post. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, everything had changed. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Articles popped up from blogs, animal rights pages, even mainstream sites. The video had gone viral. Talking gorilla accuses humans of lying. Is this the most honest animal in the world? Leaked clip shows gorilla using sign language to share trauma. By noon, it had over 1 million views. I walked into the center like everything was normal, but nothing felt normal. People huddled in corners, whispering. Staff phones buzzed nonstop. Lila pulled me aside. That was you, wasn't it? She asked. I paused, then nodded. I couldn't keep it quiet. She looked at me for a long second, then said, Good. Dr. Elliot didn't say anything, but I could feel the storm coming. Later that day, I visited Coco. She tapped the glass the moment I sat down. Many see? Yes, I said. The whole world is watching you now. She signed. They no lie? Some do, I said. Some are still afraid to believe it. She nodded slowly, then added, Truth loud, lie quiet. I smiled. You're braver than all of us. She touched her chest. Hurt still, but speak. I turned the camera off. This wasn't for the internet. This was just for her. That night, I stayed late, watching the comment sections explode. Some people cried. Others got angry. A few called it fake. But one comment stuck with me. It read, She doesn't just speak. She remembers. And that's what makes it hurt. Coco was no longer just a gorilla in a glass room. She was a voice that had been ignored for too long. And now, the world was finally listening. By sunrise, the center's gates were packed. News vans, protest signs, people with cameras. Some just stood there in silence, holding pictures of Coco. It had been only 24 hours since the clip went viral, and the world had already found her. Inside, things turned fast. Staff avoided eye contact. Whispers followed me down every hall. Dr. Elliot called an emergency meeting. She stood at the front, calm on the outside, but her eyes sharp. The video spreading online has been edited, she said. Our facility is being targeted with lies. I stood. It wasn't edited. You know that. She pointed at me. You're suspended until further notice. Turn in your badge. I'm not leaving her, I said quietly. She's not your responsibility. She's not your property. Her jaw tightened. You crossed the line, Mason. I crossed it the moment you drew one between cruelty and science. Lila stood, but Dr. Elliot snapped, anyone who supports him will be placed on leave. I turned and walked out. My hands were shaking, but I kept walking. Security followed me to the gate. You can't enter the main facility anymore, one said. I'll wait outside the fence, then. Back at my bunk, I grabbed the last of my things, my notebook, my laptop, and Coco's sketches. As I walked away, I looked back at the glass building where she waited. I thought I was done, but I wasn't. Later that evening, Lila slipped me a note under the dorm door. 4 words. She's asking for you. I crept back through the woods behind the facility. There was a break in the fence where deer sometimes passed. I crouched low and made my way toward the glass room. Coco was there, sitting against the far wall. She saw me and moved to the front, her hands raised. Where Mason? I stepped closer to the edge of the glass. I'm here. She signed quickly. They lie. Say video fake. I know, I said. They're scared. But people out there believe you. She signed again. I tell truth. You good man. Not bad. I'm trying to help. She nodded, then added. Scared. Not stop. Speak still. I pressed my palm to the glass. I won't stop. Suddenly, the overhead lights clicked on. A voice shouted, "Step away from the enclosure." Flashlights cut through the dark. Lila ran into the hall, yelling, "It's okay. He's not hurting anyone." 2 guards grabbed me. One pulled me back by the arm. "Let him go." Lila screamed. "Look at her. She's not scared. She's signing." Coco was pounding on the glass now. Signing fast. "Let go." He good. He truth. I yelled, "She's not afraid. She's defending me." The guards dragged me out. Lila followed, shouting behind them. Coco's fist slowed. Her hands lifted one last time. "Don't leave." I was shoved through the gate, the metal slamming behind me. That night, I sat just outside the fence, in the grass, knees pulled to my chest. I couldn't see her, but I knew she was still signing, still speaking, and I wasn't going anywhere. The storm rolled in just after midnight. Thunder cracked loud enough to shake the bunkhouse windows. I couldn't sleep. My body was at the fence, but my heart was still inside, with Coco. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Lila. She's not okay. I grabbed my raincoat and flashlight and took the same path through the woods, my boots sinking into the wet ground. The glass building was dimly lit, but I could see her. Coco was pacing. Fast. Her fists clenched, then slammed against the glass. Over and over. Lila met me at the side door. "I had to let you in," she said. She started right after the lightning hit. We crept toward the enclosure. Coco saw me and rushed forward, pressing both palms to the glass. Then her hands moved with urgency. Storm. Loud. Scared. Remember. I nodded slowly. What did it remind you of? She began signing faster, almost shaking. "They take baby, not poacher. Man in white." "What?" I whispered. "Man in white? You mean here." She slammed the glass once. Then again. "Man in white. Badge. Say help. Take baby, not come back." My breath caught. "Someone here took your baby?" She nodded hard. "Not jungle. Not bad man. Lab cage." Lila gasped. She's saying someone from the center took her baby. Coco kept signing. I cry. I scream. They shut light. No food. I felt the air suck out of my lungs. They punished you? Yes. I hit door. They say wild. Say dangerous. Lila looked pale. Do you think this was before she came here officially? No, I said, eyes locked on Coco. This was here. Coco slammed her fists again, louder now. No poacher. Man in white. Name tag. Hurt baby. Lightning flashed. The hallway behind us flickered. I believed it was poachers, I said. That's what they told everyone. Coco stared at me. Lie. I whispered. Who was it? She signed again. No name, but face. I never forget. Her eyes welled. She pointed at her chest. Me mom. Me protect. I fail. No, I said firmly. You didn't fail. I scream. They laugh. I stepped closer to the glass. You tried, and now you're telling the world. She signed slower now, like the fight had drained from her arms. Man in white say science. Say not mine. Take baby. Lila whispered. That could mean they were doing research. Breeding? Maybe separating them for tests. I nodded. That's why there's no record. That baby, it was erased. Coco pressed her forehead to the glass. I wait. Baby never come back. My hands were shaking. I pressed my palm to hers. I'm so sorry. She looked at me, then signed. Storm, remind me. Hurt again. I'm here now. You're not alone. Behind us, we heard a door open. Heavy footsteps. Dr. Elliot's voice echoed down the hallway. What is going on in here? We turned. She froze when she saw me. You're trespassing. She remembers everything, I said. She told us it wasn't poachers. It was someone from here. Dr. Elliot's face changed. That's not possible. She described him, Lila added. Man in white. Badge. Took her baby. Dr. Elliot crossed her arms. You're believing the signs of a traumatized animal over official records? She's not confused, I said. She's remembering. Coco slammed the glass again. Truth. 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 Dr. Elliot stepped forward. You need to leave. Now. I'm not walking away this time. Dr. Elliot's voice hardened. Everything you're accusing us of, it's slander. Fabricated. There is no record of a baby. Exactly, I said. Because someone erased it. Coco sat down, exhausted. But before she turned away, she signed one last thing. Storm pass. Truth stay. Lila whispered, we have to tell someone. And in that moment, I knew. We couldn't just share her story. We had to expose everything. The storm passed, but the weight of Coco's words didn't. Man in white. Say science. Take baby. She'd been trying to tell me for weeks. And now, there was only one thing left to do, find proof. I waited until lights dimmed across the center. Most staff had gone home. Only a few security guards remained, making slow rounds near the lab halls. I slipped through the maintenance corridor, past the east wing, until I reached the restricted archive room. I had seen Dr. Elliot enter here once with a red access card. But earlier that day, I'd found a backup card left in her office drawer. It clicked open. The air inside was colder. Rows of filing cabinets lined the back wall. A locked drawer marked Donor Confidential, Level 3. I slid the key in. Inside were thick manila folders, labeled by code K12, K12B, and then one marked K12 Offspring Transaction, Private. My stomach twisted. I opened it. The first page listed a gorilla infant, female, removed from subject K, 12 3 days after intake. Condition: healthy. Transfer reason: biological study. Destination: Theragene Pharma, Belgium. Under that, the payment records. A donation receipt from Theragene, addressed to Dr. Lowell E. Elliott. I stared at the paper. My hands shook. Coco hadn't lost her baby to poachers. Her baby had been sold. For money. By the very people who called her rescued. I flipped to a second page. A handler's report. Subject K. 12 became unmanageable after separation. Displayed extreme distress. Required sedation for 7 days. Another note. Scribbled. Must keep transaction discreet. Donor does not want media exposure. My eyes burned. The room felt smaller. Everything Coco said was true. The fire, the screaming, the cage, the lies. I pulled out my phone and snapped photos of every page, front and back. Footsteps echoed down the hall. I grabbed the folder, slid it back in place, and closed the drawer. The footsteps got closer. I ducked into the far corner, behind a tall metal shelf. A flashlight passed over the door, paused, then moved on. Once it was quiet again, I slipped out the side exit. Back in the volunteer quarters, I opened the images and stared at them. One after another. The baby's record. The buyer's name. Dr. Elliott's signature. She didn't just know what happened. She made it happen. I walked straight to Coco's room. She was asleep at first, curled in the corner with her blanket. I tapped the glass softly. Her eyes opened. "Coco," I whispered. "I found it." She sat up slowly. "I found where your baby went." Her hands moved. "You see?" "Yes. A man from here gave her away. For money." Coco looked down. "No jungle. No poacher. Just this place. This building." She touched her chest. "Me knew, but no proof." I pulled out my phone, showed her the photo. The baby's tag. The shipping document. Coco stared at it for a long time. Her face didn't move, but her chest rose and fell fast. She signed. "Eli, wear white. Call me smart. Then take her. I swear, Coco, the world is going to know." She placed her hand on the glass. "Now you know too." I nodded. "And I won't let this stay buried." For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she signed again. "Thank you, my baby. Not forgotten." I whispered, "Never." As I walked away, I felt a cold truth sink into my bones. This wasn't just about a broken system. This was betrayal. And it wore a white coat. I thought nothing could hurt more than reading that report. Seeing the papers that proved Coco's baby had been sold. But I was wrong. That night, while everyone slept, I went back to the cabinet. One last time. I had to know everything. I opened the bottom drawer and found a single dusty case, tucked behind the rest. It was labeled in black ink. Coco, final session. No date. No notes. Just those words. My hands went cold. I slipped the tape into the old monitor back in storage and hit play. The screen flickered to life. It was a small room, not her glass enclosure, but an older cage, plain and bare. A man stood behind the camera. I couldn't see his face. Coco was inside. No toys. No blanket. Just her and a metal floor. She looked smaller. Her hands moved slowly. "You say promise. You say love. You lie." Her chest rose and fell fast. She looked toward the camera. "They take baby. You know stop. You know fight." She moved to the bars. Her face pressed close. Her hands shook. I scream. I try. They shut me. Then she signed again. "Tell baby." I try. She paused. Her face fell into her palms. Then she signed with trembling fingers. "Don't forget me." The handlers stepped into frame, turned off the camera. The screen went black. I just sat there. The words echoed. "Tell baby I try. Don't forget me." She wasn't speaking to that man. She was speaking to anyone who would listen. I played it again, slower, watching every movement, every sign. This wasn't a final session. It was a goodbye. I pulled out my notebook and wrote down every word. Not just the signs, her emotion. The way her body curled in when she said, "They shut me." This wasn't just evidence. It was a message. I took a breath, wiped my face, and walked back to her room. She was awake, sitting up against the glass. She saw me and tapped twice. I sat on the floor. "Coco," I said softly. "I saw the tape. The last one." She didn't move at first. Then she signed. "I remember. Bad day. You said, 'Don't forget me.' She looked down. You said, 'Tell baby I tried.'" Her hands trembled as she signed back. No one told her. "She think I quit?" "No," I said. "I'll tell her. If the world sees it, she will too." Coco reached up, touching the glass. "Maybe she hear. Maybe not. But you try." "I promise." She signed again. "Thank you for watching, for knowing." And just like that, the weight of that forgotten tape found its place. Not in a drawer, but in me. The tape never left my mind. Coco's voice, her hands trembling, that final sign, "Don't forget me." I couldn't forget. Not now. Not ever. That night, I knocked softly on Lila's door. She opened it fast, already wide-eyed. "You saw it, didn't you?" she whispered. I nodded. She begged him to tell her baby she tried. And he just shut the camera off. Lila stepped aside. "Come in." We sat at her desk, both quiet for a moment. Then I said it. "We have to get her out." Lila blinked. "You mean free her?" "She doesn't belong here. Not after everything they did. She's not safe. But this place is crawling with cameras now. They're watching every door. We'll find a way. She deserves to live free, not in a cage built on lies." Lila exhaled. "Okay, I'm in." We spent the next hour going over every hallway, every exit, every guard rotation we could remember. The delivery gate by the south-loading dock had a 20-minute blind spot between shifts. "That's our only window," I said. Lila opened her laptop. "I can spoof the security cameras for 15 minutes. I've done it before, just never for something this big." "And Coco?" I asked. "You think she'll come with us?" "She trusts you. If you tell her it's time, she'll follow." The next morning, I went to her as usual. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept. "Coco," I said gently, "do you want to leave this place?" She blinked, then signed slowly. "Go." "But where?" "Somewhere better. Somewhere safe. A sanctuary." She stared at me for a long moment. "You come too?" I nodded. "I won't leave you." She looked down, then signed. I scared, but ready. Later that night, Lila brought a small duffel bag with keys, a map, and protein bars. "We have one shot. If anything goes wrong." "It won't," I said. We get her out. We disappear. At 2:03 a.m., the hallway cameras blinked out. I held the access card and slid it into the panel. Coco was waiting, already standing, watching the hallway through the glass. I opened the door. She stepped out slowly, looking both ways. Her chest rose and fell fast, but she stayed close. "You're okay," I whispered. "We've got you." We crept down the back corridor. Lila walked ahead, guiding us past motion sensors and quiet alarms. At the last door, Coco paused. Her hand touched the glass wall beside her. "Goodbye, cage. No more." I smiled. "No more." Lila pushed the gate open. Outside, the trees swayed gently. The forest was alive. We helped Coco into the back of the van. She crouched low, silent. As we pulled away, I looked back one last time at the building behind us. It was just a building, but for Coco, it had been a prison. And tonight, she was finally free. The wind picked up just past 2 a.m. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The trees swayed hard, like they knew something big was coming. It was time. Lila stood near the back door of the center, laptop in hand, watching the camera feeds blink dark one by one. 15 minutes, she said. That's all we have. I nodded. Let's move. We ran quietly down the hallway toward the enclosure. My heart pounded. My hands shook. But when I reached the panel, Coco was already there, waiting in the shadows. She didn't look scared. She looked ready. I slid the card. The door clicked. Coco stepped forward, but stopped just before crossing the line. I knelt down and whispered, "It's okay. You're free now." She looked at me, her big eyes filled with something I can't explain. Not fear, not relief. It was something deeper. She reached out with one giant hand and gently touched my face. Then she signed. "Thank you." I couldn't breathe. She stepped out. Lila opened the side door. Trucks ready. Go. We sprinted down the back corridor, Coco moving faster than I thought she could. She stayed low, close to me, her breaths quick and loud. We reached the loading dock. Lila popped the lock on the gate. It groaned open. The storm hit harder now, rain falling, wind howling. The truck sat just beyond the fence. "Almost there," I said. "Just a little more." We started running toward it. That's when the alarm screamed. Red lights lit up behind us. Shouts echoed from the main building. They saw us. Lila yelled, "Run!" We bolted for the truck. Coco moved like lightning, never looking back. I pushed the back door open and helped her inside. Then I heard it. Bang. A gunshot. It echoed across the lot. I turned fast. Lila stumbled, grabbing her side. "I'm hit." "No, Lila." I shouted. "Drive," she yelled. "Get her out of here." Coco pounded on the truck wall, her eyes wide with panic. I helped Lila into the passenger seat. She was bleeding but conscious. "I'll be okay," she grunted. "Go." I slammed the gas. We sped down the gravel path, tires spinning on wet ground, headlights cutting through the storm. In the rearview mirror, Coco sat low, arms wrapped around her chest, shaking. I reached one hand back and whispered, "You're safe. I promise." She lifted her head slowly and signed. Loud, like before. "I know," I said, "but this time, we're not going back." Lila winced, but managed a weak smile. She's really free. We drove for miles. No sirens. No lights behind us. Just the storm. And Coco, silent in the dark, watching the world rush by. A world she hadn't touched in years. She had waited so long. Now she was finally running. And even though the shot rang in my ears, it didn't stop us. Not this time. Rain slammed against the windshield. The road ahead was soaked, but I couldn't slow down. Lila gripped her side, breathing hard. "You're gonna be okay," I said. She gave a shaky nod. "It's just a graze. Keep going." In the back, Coco sat still, eyes locked on the window. Her hands gripped the edge of the truck. She hadn't made a sound since the gunshot. The road split ahead. I took the path into the woods. Deep, dark, hidden. It was the way out. After a few miles, the tires hit soft mud. The truck struggled, then stopped completely. "We walk from here," I said. I opened the back door. Coco stepped down into the mud. The trees stood tall all around us. For a second, none of us moved. Lila slid out slowly, holding her side. "Go ahead. I'll catch up." "You sure?" She nodded. "Get her to the trees." Coco looked at me, then the forest. Her body tensed, like she didn't believe it was real. "It's okay," I whispered. "You're free now." She stepped forward. Rain soaked her fur. She moved slow at first, then faster. When we reached the edge of the tree line, she stopped. She turned back toward the center, now only a distant glow through the storm. Then she raised her hands and signed, "No more lies." I stood frozen. She looked back at me, eyes steady. Then, without a sound, she walked into the trees, disappeared into the dark. I wanted to follow, but I didn't. Somewhere deep down, I knew she didn't need us anymore. She had taken her story, her pain, and her truth and returned it to the wild where no one could cage it again. By sunrise, the story was everywhere. News anchors spoke with wide eyes. Headlines flashed across screens. The gorilla who told the truth. She signed, "They took my baby." Scientist exposed by his own research. Clips of Coco signing spread like wildfire. Her hands trembling, her eyes locked on the camera. Her voice silent, but louder than anything I'd ever heard. People watched and wept. Some screamed in anger. Others just held their pets and cried. The world had finally seen her. They saw the tapes. They read the files. Every word from her notebook was published online. From "Humans lie" to "Tell baby I try." Reporters flooded the gates of the center. Protesters showed up with signs that read, "She knew, justice for Coco, and no more lies." Dr. Elliott gave one press statement, brief and cold. She claimed the footage was edited, said the signs were misinterpreted, but no one believed her. The center was shut down within a week. The donor who bought Coco's baby? Under federal investigation. His name blasted across every network. But none of that brought Coco back. I stayed quiet. People kept calling. They wanted my face on interviews, on magazines, on live shows. But every time they asked, I gave the same answer. This was never about me. Lila was recovering well. The shot had just grazed her ribs. She watched the coverage with me in silence. "She did it," she said one night, eyes wet. "She really did." "She told the truth," I replied. We just had to listen. Online, strangers wrote messages to Coco. People said she changed how they saw animals. Some said she changed how they saw themselves. The comment that stuck with me the most was this: "She wasn't just rescued. She rescued us." I didn't reply. I just stared at it for a long time. The world had moved fast. News trucks came and went. Stories shifted to other headlines. But Coco's truth had already carved a place in history. She had been caged, silenced, and betrayed. But when she finally got the chance, she stood up, faced the glass, and said what no one else could. And the world listened. The world moved on, but I didn't. Every week, I packed a bag and drove out past the edge of town toward the rainforest. Then I hiked. Same path. Same hope. I never said it out loud, but I was always looking for her. Coco. She had vanished into the trees that night without a sound. No trackers. No signs left on purpose. But sometimes I found things. A broken banana peel near a stream. Scratched bark on a tree just above my height. A piece of soft cloth snagged on a low branch. They weren't proof, but they felt like something. I kept a small notebook, just like before. This time, I filled it with things I didn't understand, shapes of leaves turned over, rocks stacked near the river. Were they signs? Or was I just seeing what I wanted? One morning, I found a patch of fruit half-eaten, laid out in a circle. Not a pile, a circle. I knelt beside it. "Was this you?" I whispered. No answer. Just whined through the trees. I sat there for an hour. Sometimes I spoke to her. "I hope you're safe. I hope you found peace." Other times I said nothing. Just listened. One day, I found a large footprint in the mud. It was wide and deep, bigger than mine. I didn't move. I just stared at it. My heart raced, but the next rain washed it away. Lila told me once, Maybe she doesn't want to be found. I nodded. Maybe. But maybe she just wants to know someone's still looking. She smiled. Then keep looking. And I did. Even months later. Because Coco was more than a story. She was truth. A voice that broke through silence. And somewhere in that forest, I hoped she still knew. She was never forgotten. It had been nearly 7 months since Coco disappeared into the trees. Most days, I walked the forest alone. Quiet. Waiting. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from a park ranger. He said, "I don't want to give false hope, but I saw something. A large silverback near the clearing you always visit." I held my breath. Was she alone? No. There was a smaller one with her. Healthy. Calm. Looked like a younger gorilla. My heart jumped. "Are you sure?" "I've worked this land for 15 years, he said. It wasn't random. They were watching me, then disappeared. I hung up and packed a small bag. On my next hike, I carried 3 things, a blanket, an old mirror, and a photo of Coco's baby. The only copy I had left. I made the trip alone. No drone. No camera crew. Just me and the forest. I reached the clearing by dusk. It was quiet, like always. The kind of quiet that presses against your skin. I laid the mirror near the tree line, facing out. Then I placed the photo under a flat stone, just enough to keep it from blowing away. Before I left, I whispered, "If it's really you, I just want you to know. You did it. You were brave. And you're not forgotten." I didn't expect anything. 3 days later, I came back. The photo was still there. But the mirror? Gone. Not broken. Not smashed. Just gone. I scanned the clearing. Nothing. No footprints. No fur. Just the missing mirror. I sat down where I left it. My chest felt heavy. "Was that you?" I whispered. "Did you see yourself?" I waited, but the trees stayed still. I picked up the photo, held it close. "If that was really your baby, if you found her, then I'm happy. That's all I ever wanted." I tucked the photo into my notebook. On the walk back, I stopped once to look behind me. And I don't know why, but I swear, for just a second, I felt watched. Not in fear, but like someone was saying goodbye again. I didn't plan to come back that day. I had already said goodbye, left the photo, found the mirror gone. But something kept pulling me back to the clearing, like maybe the forest had one last thing to say. I brought no bag this time, no camera, just a single folded page from my journal. Coco's first sign to me. "You sad." It was quiet when I arrived. No movement. No sounds except the leaves brushing against each other. I stepped into the open, expecting nothing. But then I saw it, near the base of a tree's stones. Carefully arranged. Not scattered. Not random. A shape. I froze. My eyes filled instantly. It was the sign. 3 stones on the left. 1 centered. 2 below, side by side. I knew it. I had seen it in the journal. It was Coco's sign for forgive. I dropped to my knees. My hand touched the stones. "I don't know if this is real," I whispered. "I don't know if it's you." But my voice cracked as I spoke. "If it is, thank you." Tears ran down my face. I looked up at the trees. My voice shook. "I told your story, Coco. I kept every word, every sign. And the world listened." I laid the folded paper beside the stones. "You saved more than yourself. You made people feel. You made them care." My breath caught. "I don't know where you are. I don't know if your baby found you. But I hope you both know now." I looked at the sign again. You were never the mistake. They were. The wind picked up, brushing my cheek like a hand. And for a second, I felt her. Not in the way I used to. Not behind glass. Not signing through silence. Just peace. I stood up and whispered, I forgive you too, for ever thinking you were just an animal." Then I turned toward the trail. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because the truth was already there, laid out in stone. And Coco had finally said the last word.